I've always been a night owl, a chronic insomniac. My nights are usually spent flipping through endless channels, hoping for something, anything, to lull my brain to sleep. But one night, or rather, one morning at 3 a.m., something different happened. I was mashing the channel up button on my remote, past the static of dead stations, when I landed on a channel that wasn't supposed to be there. Channel 0. It wasn't on any guide, it just appeared. The screen flickered to life, showing grainy black and white footage. It looked like it was shot on an old security camera. A man was walking down a deserted alleyway, clutching a briefcase. He kept looking over his shoulder, his face a mask of pure terror. There was no sound, just this eerie, silent film playing out. He ducked behind a dumpster, his eyes wide. The camera angle was fixed, high up on a wall. Then, the screen cut to black. A simple white text appeared. Markham, John, went missing, October 17th. My blood ran cold. I'd seen his face on the news just last week. I told myself it was just some morbid, late-night art project. A prank. But my curiosity was a hook I couldn't shake loose. The next night, I was back in front of the TV, waiting. Sure enough, at midnight, Channel 0 flickered into existence. This time, it showed a young woman in a library, long after closing time. She was frantically pulling books from shelves, searching for something. The camera was positioned perfectly to see her desperate expression. She looked up, directly at the camera, as if she knew she was being watched. A shadow moved at the edge of the frame. Then, static. The text appeared. Chen, Lisa, went missing November 3rd. This became my ritual. Every night, a new face, a new final recording. I felt like a grim historian, the sole audience to these tragic final acts. I tried to record it on my phone, but the screen would just show static. I tried telling my friend Alex, but he just laughed it off, saying I was sleep-deprived and watching too many creepypastas. Maybe he was right, maybe I was losing my mind, but the faces, they were real. I'd look them up the next day, and every single one was a real missing persons case, with the date matching the broadcast. The recordings were always different. A hiker lost in the woods, filmed from a tree branch. A taxi driver on a remote country road, filmed from his own dashboard. A teenager in their own bedroom, filmed from the corner of their ceiling. The perspective was always impossible, unseen. It felt like I was looking through the eyes of whatever was taking them. The lack of sound was the worst part. It forced my mind to fill in the blanks, the desperate pleas, the snapping twigs, the silent screams. I became obsessed. Sleep was a distant memory. My days were a fog, my nights a terrifying vigil. I had to know what this channel was, who was broadcasting it, and why. Was it a warning, a trophy room for some twisted collector? I scoured the internet for any mention of Channel 0, of ghost broadcasts, of anything similar. I found nothing but dead ends and conspiracy forums that made me feel even crazier. The people on screen were strangers, but their fear was universal. It was a raw, primal terror that seeped through the screen and into my living room. I started seeing shadows in my own apartment, jumping at every creak and groan of the old building. I felt watched. The channel was no longer just something I was observing. It felt like it was observing me back. Then came last night. I sat down, heart pounding, the remote clutched in my sweaty hand. Midnight struck. The screen flickered. But this time the setting was instantly, chillingly familiar. It was my own street. The camera was positioned across from my apartment building, looking right at my window. My window. I could see the faint blue glow of my own television screen illuminating the room. My room. My breath caught in my throat. I watched, paralyzed, as the camera slowly, impossibly began to zoom in. It passed through the glass of the window, through the walls of my building, as if they weren't even there. The camera drifted silently into my living room, and then it turned. It was focused on the back of my couch, on the back of a figure, sitting exactly where I was sitting. A figure with my messy hair, wearing my favorite old hoodie. A figure holding a remote control. It was me. I was watching myself on a secret channel that shows the final moments of missing people. The camera kept moving, slowly panning around the couch to show my face. I could see the screen's reflection in my own wide, terrified eyes on the television. My mouth was open in a silent scream. and behind me, just over my shoulder, a dark, undefined shape began to rise from the shadows of the room. It had no features, no form, just an abyss of perfect blackness that seemed to swallow the light around it. On the screen, my on-screen self still hadn't noticed. He was just staring, frozen in terror at the television. At me. I wanted to scream, to warn him, to warn myself, but I couldn't move. I was trapped, a spectator to my own final moments. The text hasn't appeared yet, but I know what it will say. It will have my name, and it will have today's date. The shadow on the screen is still rising, and I can feel a sudden, intense cold fill my living room. I haven't looked away from the TV. I'm too afraid of what I'll see when I turn around.